Today we're going to be working in lessons 4 and 5 dealing with cell entry and formatting of those cells. We're going to be taking a look at how to apply themes in Excel. We'll be auto-fitting our columns. We'll show you how to format cells in a variety of different manners. We're going to apply cell styles. We're going to show you how to merge and center text within a cell. We're going to show you how to use the various different number formats that are available to you, format of different dates, autofill and flash fill, align the cells to the left, to the right, or to the center, and then finally we'll be setting column widths and row heights. We will need to open a file in order to begin our work for lesson 4. And so if you have your book, you can turn to page 372, and you can open this Excel file right here. That's going to be the E04 try file. Also, you could go to Class Files, IIT, Excel, Chapter 1, and we're going to go to that E04 try file. With the file open, we're now going to go ahead and save this file, Save As. We're going to put it in a folder with today's date. So I'm going to put this in Documents. Type in today's date for the new folder. February adding my initials to the name of that file. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to change the theme for this document. Now, you may remember in Word, to change a theme, you would have to go to the Design tab, but there is no Design tab here in Excel. Themes are actually stored in Excel on the Page Layout tab. So here on Page Layout, I'm going to go to the Themes button. It looks just like it would have looked in Word. And we're going to pick a theme. The theme here that they want to pick is called Slice. Picking the Slice theme. And that will change the overall layout or the look of the page. Again, at this point, there's not much on the page, but if we had colors and so forth, it would change the colors to match those of the theme. Now, you may notice that some of the text in column C, specifically I'm looking at the chocolate almond bars, is not completely visible, okay? So what I want to do is I want to resize column C. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to come up here to the top between the C and the D. And if I put my mouse right in that line that separates the letter C from the letter D, I can double click at this point. When I double click on this line, it resizes column C to fit the largest item in column C. I now look through the rest of the data here, and I'm looking in column D, E, and F, and all the data is perfectly visible, so I don't need to resize any of those columns. Next, we're going to add some formatting to our document. Specifically, I want to select from cell B2 to cell F2. I'm pointing my mouse at the middle of cell B2 and dragging over to F2 to select this group of cells right here. What I want to do is I want to change the background color, or more accurately, the fill color of these cells. I'm going to do that on the Home tab, clicking on the Home tab. this button that looks like a paint bucket, this is my fill color. It changes the background color of my cells. And in this case, the color that we want to do is this last color, this red color. And more specifically, we want to do the red accent 6 lighter 40%. So I find that one in the list. I click OK, or I click on that color, and that changes the background color of those particular items. The next thing we're going to do is going to be to cell F13. So I come to my F column, look across row 13, F13, we're going to click here. And what we're going to do is we're going to change this color to green. So I'm going to use my fill color drop down. This green is a standard color, so I'm going to come down here to the bottom where it says standard color, and there I'll find my green option right there. Next, I'm going to pick my header row, and a header row is a row that's at the top of a group of cells. So that's from cell B4 to cell F4. So I've taken my mouse to cell B4, held it down, dragged over to F4. And this time we're going to apply a cell style. A style basically applies many settings at one time to a particular cell. And so I have my cells selected. So I'm going to come up here to Cell Styles on the Home tab, Cell Styles. And here I've got a lot of preset styles that I can choose from. And so in this particular case, the book that we're using wants us to use the 60% accent 2 style for this heading style. So we're going to choose this pink one right here, and that will change those settings. Notice it changed the font color, probably the font style, and even the background color of these particular cells. Now you will notice at this point that the number sold column doesn't quite fit anymore with this change. So what I want to do is resize column E. So where would I put my cursor if I wanted to resize column E? Hopefully you thought to yourself or said to yourself that that would be between the E and the F column, because this is where I can resize, and I'm going to double click between this E and the F, and that will resize column E so that it fits the text of numbers sold. Next, I'm going to apply a style to my two bottom cells here, my total cells, weekly total and the number. So we're going to come up to Cell Styles once again, and this time we're going to pick this style that's over here called Total. This is going to add some lines to my cells, a single line above and a double line below. So we've added those particular items. It also made the text bold in this particular case. Now I want to change the font size of a particular piece of text. We're going to come up here to cell B2, this Art Club Candy Sale, and we're going to increase the size of that to size 24. So I'm going to come up to my font size button and choose size 24, and that will make the text larger. Notice that row 2 increased in size to accommodate the larger text. Well, the next thing I want to do is I want to center this Art Club Candy Sale. In essence, I want the text in the middle of all these colored cells. Well, here's what we need to do. We need to select all of these colored cells. So I'm selecting from B2 to F2. And what I want to do is I want to merge all of these cells. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different cells. I want to turn them into a single cell. So I come up here to my Merge and Center button. It's on the Alignment group of my Home tab. I'm going to click Merge and Center. And what that's going to do is it's going to turn all of those cells if I click away and back into this first cell, you'll notice that it now selects everything in here because these are now have become one large cell with the art club and candy sale in the middle of it. In the same way, I want to come down and select from B13 to E13. I want these 4 cells to become one cell with weekly total in the middle. So again, I'm going to click Merge and Center. All right. And that should now merge all of those cells into a single cell. I do want the same style though that we used over here. The style's been removed, as you can see. So I'm going to come up to Cell Styles and once again choose my total style so that the line appears above as 2 lines appears below like it does for the dollar amount that's over here. Now, I want to apply a style to a number style, more specifically, a number style to my text here. Cell F5 is $38.25. I want it to look like money, meaning I want the dollar sign to come in front of it. Well, up on my ribbon, Home tab, in the number group, there is this button. It has this dollar sign here. If you click on it, notice that it does put the dollar sign in, but it puts the dollar sign all the way on the left side of the cell. This is called the accounting format. While some people do like to use the accounting format, and notice the name up here, accounting, I like the currency format better. What that does is it moves the dollar sign right next to the 3. So instead of using the dollar sign symbol here, I'm going to use this drop down. Here's the accounting that we used just a moment ago. But rather than accounting, we're going to use the currency format. And the difference here is the dollar sign is placed right next to my number as opposed to appearing on the left edge of its cell. Now, I want to do the same thing to all of my prices. So with all of my prices selected, so I've selected from D5 all the way down to D12, from D5 down to D12, and let's apply that currency format again. I'm going to go to General and choose Currency. Notice the other thing that it did is the numbers that were 2.5, it added zeros in here, meaning it rounded to the nearest penny as it relates to displaying the information on the spreadsheet. The accounting format does the same thing. It will always round to 2 decimal places on your screen. Now, the total amount, the weekly total, this number that's in green, I also want to apply that currency effect to. Now, I do want all of these numbers in between. I do want them rounded to the nearest penny. So in other words, this 75 that's here, I want it to say 75.00. The 49.5, I want to really say 49.50. Well, but I don't want the dollar sign to appear in front of each one of those. Well, the way I can do this is there is a format called the comma style. And the comma style does 2 things. I'm going to click on it, and it does indeed round to the nearest penny, just like the currency and the accounting style did, but it doesn't put the dollar sign in front. What it will do, however, is it will also, for numbers that are larger than 1,000, it will put a comma in those numbers that require commas. Again, these numbers here aren't that large, but if I had a number that was, say, 1,050, it would put the comma in the correct place. At this point, we are done with this particular spreadsheet. So we're going to save this file, click Save, and that should save the file so that it can be turned into me on nGrade. You may go ahead and close this file, and we're now going to move to Lesson 5. All right, I now have my book open, and I'm on Lesson 5 of my Excel data. And the actual page number that will have the file that I need is page 381. So I'm going to turn to page 381 in my book. And here I could open my Excel file from here if I wish to do so. The file I'm opening is the E05 try file. Also, we can get that file from class files, which I still have open. So I'm going to go to my E05 try file. I'm going to open that file up. And I'm going to save this file, save as, and I'm going to put this file in that dated folder that I created a little earlier in this lesson. So I'm going to put that file in this February folder, and I'm going to add my initials to the end of that file name and click Save. And in this document, we're going to start off by practicing something we learned in an earlier lesson, and that is adding a header or footer. I'm going to go to the Insert tab, and I want to add a header or footer. Now again, depending on your computer screen and how wide it is, you might see header and footer already appearing. If you don't, click on this text button right here, and you should see the option of header and footer. Now, what I want you to do is in the top left corner, we're going to put your name in the top left corner. And in the top right corner, I want to put in the date. But I want it to not just have today's date, I want it to change to whatever day it happens to be. So we're going to use this current date option for the top right corner so that it will display the current date. When I click away from the header or footer, back in the main document somewhere, you'll see that it will put in whatever today's date is into the document. Let's go to cell C3. Cell C3, and it has the report date here. What I want to do is I want to insert today's date here as well. Now, we can do that in a number of ways. I can simply type in the date. I can type in 2/8, but when I press enter, it may format that date in a way that I wasn't expecting. All right. Well, go ahead and type in whatever today's date is here, and then come back to the cell, and we're going to come up to this number format area that we were just working with a minute ago. Dates are numbers, so we format our dates much in the same ways that we would format our numbers. A moment ago, we dealt with currency, accounting, and even the comma format, which isn't listed here, but it's one of the buttons. Right now, we're going to change this to be the short date option, where it displays the day, the month, and the year. Now at this point, we're going to go to the cell B6. By the way, notice that my header is still showing and my margins are showing. In order to easier work with my rows and columns, I want to get rid of the header, footer, and margins, at least visibly on the screen. So we're going to go to our View tab, and we're going to change this back to our normal view, so that I don't see my header, I don't see my footers, and I don't see the margins. Here I am in cell B6. And in cell B6, I'd like you to type in the date 4/2, April 2nd, and press enter. What that did is that put April 2nd in there. And what I'm going to do is in the next cell down, we're going to type in 4/9. Now, those of you who may be math whizzes may realize that, hey, those dates are 7 days apart. So they're actually a week apart from each other. So if April 2nd happens to be a Monday, then April 9th would also be a Monday. What I want to do is I want to put in a couple more dates that are each a week apart. Now, rather than me typing them in, there is a way that I can fill these dates in automatically. What I'd like you to do is point at the April 2nd cell and drag down to the April 9th cell. So I'm selecting both of these dates, okay? What I'm doing is I'm going to use a little trick called the fill handle. This little square in the bottom right corner of the selection is the fill handle. And if I take my mouse and I point at that fill handle, I can then hold down my left mouse button and drag down to row 10. So I'm dragging down 3 blank cells. And when I let go, it will pre-fill the rest of the dates that I want. I skipped a week between the 2nd and the 9th. It then skipped another week and put in the 16th, another week and put in the 23rd, and then the 30th. The fill handle. Very useful tool this fill handle is. Let's take a look at what else this fill handle can do. At the bottom of your screen, please click on the plus to add a new sheet to your workbook here. And in cell A1, we're going to type in the word January. With January typed in, I'd like you to point to that fill handle, that little square, and drag it down 12 rows. As you can see, the fill handle is smart enough that it knows to fill in the months of the year. Let's go to cell C1, C1, and type in Monday. With my cursor still on cell C1, I'm going to point at the fill handle and let's drag down 4 rows. It fills in the days of the week. Now I'm going to go to cell E1 and I'm going to type in a month in the middle here. I'm going to type in October, OCT, the first 3 letters of October. Grab the fill handle and let's drag down 12 cells. The same thing would work if I abbreviated the days of the week. So here I am in cell G1. If I type in TUE for Tuesday and drag down 4, it would indeed repeat the abbreviated forms. Finally, the last thing I want to show you is that if you add something like quarter, I'm going to type in QTR space and then the number 1. Okay, so I've got some text and then a number. If I use my fill handle, it will then increase the number by 1, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4. Now, if I put just a plain number in here and I try to use the fill handle, it's not going to increment by 1. It's going to just copy that 1 down. All right. So this only works if there's some text associated with it. If I wanted these numbers to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I would have to put a 2 in the second cell, select the 1 and the 2. Now if I grab the fill handle and drag down, it would increment by 1 because it knows to increment by 1 because I had 2 cells selected. All right, That was a quick look at the fill handle and what it can do. Let's go back to sheet 1 and we'll pick up where we left off there. The next thing we're going to do is going to click on cell C6, and we're going to enter a couple values in here. I want to fill these in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to type in a 1 in cell C6. I'm going to type in a 2 in cell C7. I now select these two cells. As we demonstrated just a moment ago, I can now, with these two cells selected, that shows Excel the pattern, increase by 1. I'm going to grab the fill handle and drag down to cell C10, and that should fill in 1 through 5. I wish to have the same pattern, 1 through 5, filled all the way through to column G. So I'm going to, with all these cells selected, cells C, 6 through 10, I'm going to go to the fill handle and drag over to G10. We're now going to click on cell I6, the shipped by column, and we're going to type some names in here. So we're going to type in Michael W. Penn. Press the Enter key. Next, we're going to type in Rosie L. Patton. Press the Enter key. Next, Jameson P. Falcon. Next cell, cell I9, John Jon D. Stalwart, Stalwart. Pressing Enter. The final cell, Mia, Mia, the letter A, period, Dawson, and press Enter. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do some formatting issues. We're going to select the shipment column, that's B6 down to B10. The text, because these are numbers, remember dates are numbers, the text is automatically aligned to the right side of the cell. We're going to change this alignment to the left side of the cell using the same tools we used in Word, clicking on the alignment option of left. Next, we're going to select a group of cells. We're going to select the cells from C6 to G10, selecting from C6 to G10. Please don't use the fill handle when selecting. Point at the middle of the cell and drag across. Here we're going to now center this text. So we're going to click on the center button on the alignment group to center this text. Next, we're going to select along the top row here, row number 1. I'm going to select from A1 all the way over to I1. From A1 to I1, I want to select these items, and I wish to merge and center all these cells into one cell and center the text. So we're going to use the merge and center feature in order to accomplish that. Next, I want to apply a style. So I'm going to come over here to Cell Styles, and I want to choose this Accent 5 style that exists in the styles list. But the text is now too small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this up arrow where this says increase font size. I'm going to do that 5 times. That should bring my size up to size 20. All right. And the final thing we want to do, which is going to make a very small difference at this point, is talk about vertical alignment. Right here, this is horizontal alignment. That is, aligns the text horizontally to the left, to the center, or to the right. But I also have a vertical alignment. This determines whether or not the text is going to go in the top of the cell, the middle of the cell, or the bottom of the cell. To see this a little more obviously, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to row 1, the line between row 1 and row 2. I'm going to drag this line down just a little bit. The specific amount doesn't matter, just so that it looks something like this on the screen. Now, if you click on the top, middle, or bottom, you will see the actual difference in this alignment option. The alignment option I wish you to choose is the middle option. Sometimes your text, rather than having your text making the column wider, like for example here in column B5, C5, rather than making the text wider, because this should say shipment date, dry goods, I don't really want to make my columns wider. What I want to do is I want to wrap the text within those columns. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select from B5 over to G5. So I'm selecting in essence the header row of this group of cells. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the Wrap Text button on this alignment group. When I click on Wrap Text, what that does is it modifies the text so that it is allowed to wrap within the cells. Now I still have to adjust one cell, and that is the B cell, the B column, because as you can see, shipment date does not perfectly wrap. So I'm going to drag that. I'm not double clicking. Okay. Instead, what I'm doing is I'm dragging the cell to the right just a little bit to allow the T of shipment to appear properly on this particular spreadsheet. Now, sometimes you want to set your column widths or row heights to a specific width. Let's take a look at a couple options for doing that. As we've mentioned before, we can drag our column width. So this time what I want to do is I'm going to reset column A. I want to make it wide enough that the report date will appear in the cell. Now, if I double click here, it's going to resize based on goods received by pallet. I don't want it that wide. So instead, I'm going to drag this. So I'm going to take my mouse between that A and the B, and I'm going to drag that to the right. Now, I'm eyeballing, first of all, the fact that I want to make sure that it is exactly, or not exactly, but just a little bit larger than the report date. Next, I'm going to look at the width that is appearing above, and I want to make it an even number. So I'm going to drag this until it says a width of 12.0. Once I see the 12.0, I'm going to let go, and that will resize that column. Now, if you know right up front what you want your width to be, or in this case, we're going to change the height. We're going to change the height again of row 1. So I'm going to select row 1 by clicking on the 1 over here. If you know the exact height you wish to use, you can type it directly in, and let me show you where you would do that. With row 1 selected, I'm going to come over here to the Format button. I'm on the Home tab, Cell Group, Format button. I can choose my row height, or if I were doing columns, I could do column width. Earlier, I could have done a column width of 12 right here. Now I'm going to go to row height. That's what I'm dealing with right now. Right now, the current row height is 40, for me, is 46.5. Yours is going to vary something different to that. I want to make this exactly 40. So I'm going to select that number and type in 40, click OK, and that will adjust that row height to be exactly 40 inches. All right, a few finishing touches. You will notice that we've got a gap in our data, column H. I don't really need column H, so I'm going to delete column H. I'm going to do that by clicking on the letter H, and that should select it. Now I've got a couple options. I can use the delete button up here, and I can choose delete sheet columns. That would work. Alternatively, I usually prefer the right click method. So I'm going to right click on the letter H. From here I can choose delete, and that does delete that entire column. One of the last changes we want to make is we wish to make our dates appear in bold and italicized. So with the dates selected, I go to my font group and I choose the B and the I just like I would have done in Word, and that will make those items bold and italicized. Let's save our work, file save, and that does wrap us up with this particular lesson. I'm going to close this file. In this lesson, we dealt with cell entry and formatting. We applied themes to our document. We used the auto fit feature. That's double clicking on the column heading at the top, the line, to adjust it to fit the largest item in there. We talked a little bit about formatting our cells, applying styles in order to do some of our formatting for us. We did use merge and center. We took a look at several different number formats, ranging from the accounting format to the currency format. Also looked at dates, just talked about the fact that dates are indeed numbers. We autofilled using that fill handle, a very handy tool for quickly filling in things like months of the year, days, etc. We took a look at aligning cells to the left, to the right, to the center. And then finally, we dealt with setting column widths and row heights.